Hello, I'm Day 9, and this is my second attempt at part 2 because I did about 2 minutes of it before realizing I didn't have my mic unmuted. A daily with no sound, an interpretive dance of Zerg vs. Terran is useless. Now that we have sound, hopping right back in. 10-minute mark, we saw this great infestation pit, we saw this great hatchery go down. We talked about how everything up to this point looked very safe, and now we're going to see not just that we could get here safely, but how we're going to exploit the position we're in nicely. Ventral sacks going down, Overlord speed. Also spine crawlers, just one spine crawler, two spine crawler, and some queens here to defend in place of spine crawlers.
I'm under attack.
I was talking about how Overlord speed is really important versus Mech anyways, because what can he really do about it? I mean, Vikings obviously are going to be a no-go in this spot. We'll just pick those off. And Thors just kill Overlords really, 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 really fast.
Our forces are under attack.
So, I mean, it's very easy to look at this position and be like, oh, well, Strelok just has lost so much. He has lost some workers. But it's inevitable that he's going to take some damage in this spot. And 10 I actually would put under the category of some. It's very difficult for a meching player to even have an answer to this. I mean, even if he's harassing at the front, it's still difficult for him to deal with this follow-up at the backside. Up to this point, 65 drones for TLO. He has no intention of halting up that droning. Just picking off key units. This tank seems like a fairly useless unit to take out. It seems like the sort of thing that my roommates are cooking. It's coming on in. If we're going Swarm Host Mutalisk, it seems like these siege tanks aren't that important. If we're going Roach, it's really obvious why they're important. But here, it's super, super critical because any meching player is going to be leery to move out until his tank count is at a certain height. So this actually buys us considerable time. Because even though we're not going Roach, I mean, Strelok doesn't know that. This is all Strelok really sees. So he's gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
Our forces are under attack.
Now we're just gonna see some very nice cleanup. There is the Thor, having arrived. Any perceptive Terran player is gonna be saying to himself, oh, well, wow, that Mutalisk count is not really getting any higher. Mutalisk doing a good job of continually checking this and this to make sure there's not too much vision. Swarm host count increasing up on up. Some additional drones in production. Conservatively rallying them here, likely before transferring them over. But here's the cool play. So, first, in this stage, I want to take a look at the Strelok cam. Before we go into too much analysis of what specifically Strelok is doing, let's just make a really simple qualitative statement. Strelok started off with a turtly, long-term focused build, getting tanks, upgrades, and a third base real fast, and hasn't done much else. He should be getting a pretty big army. If he went for Hellion Harass at the start, and then did, you know, the third base and the tech, he should have a smaller army. So he should have a pretty, compared to other builds, a pretty big army. Should be in just build-up mode right now until he gets his 2-2 upgrades. Look at what he has. Look at the Strelok cam. So he has his 5 factories up, just churning out tanks. Good thing we killed those off, so he feels obligated to make more. We have our Hellbat factories. We don't really have an up-and-running starport. We're getting about halfway done with that. Unit-wise, we have some Thors, and yeah, not much else. Not much else. At 12 minutes and 30 seconds, not that much. I mean, we barely got a couple of turrets up, and even then, it's not a considerable number of turrets. Strelok, when I say, yeah, he's in build-up mode, that's like a huge, like, size 40 font build-up. Like, he has quite a while to build up. Probably would earliest move out 14, 15 minutes. So we have plenty of time to mess with him and ruin his life. Any amount that we mess with him in the build-up period should be viewed as a delay of the build-up. It should not be viewed as a I'm dealing damage to him. Certainly you maybe can kill him, and certainly maybe you can deal some damage, but you shouldn't think of it that way. Just think of it as a delay. Because no matter what, he's waiting. And whether it's wait a little bit or wait a long while, he's still going to be waiting to attack. But here comes some cool tactics. The slow, the majestic, and lumbering swarm host. So these mutalisks serve two purposes. One, deal damage. Excuse me, three purposes. One, deal damage. Two, keep us alive. Deal with any threat. And three, clear out the vision of Strelok, so this is Strelok's vision, permitting drops like this to happen. So this is going to deal some damage, but most importantly, this will delay Strelok. And a delay is all we need, because we're getting a Hive. We want to do something magical with Hive tech. And look at these, oh, these wonderful swarm hosts hitting from other sides. And great, we pull back. Remember what I was saying earlier about the tanks being slow and the Hellbats having low range? The only thing that are really sensational against swarm hosts are going to be the Thors if they can get close and the tanks if they can get close. We just easily maneuver out of said range. And meanwhile, back home, I would almost go so far as to say, do whatever the hell you want, man. You're in great shape. There's a +1 of the Evo chamber. There's a second Evo chamber somewhere else here. Found him. Got him. Ultra Ling, I like quite a bit. I think that's fine. Vipers, fine. Going for Broodlords, totally fine. Broodlords might be an easier transition of all of them, just due to the fact that we have our 8 geysers and we have our Spire already pre-built. But there's just... you can do kind of a lot of whatever you want. Just hitting from all these sides. Mech is slow and functions well when it groups up and does direct engagements. And we see this logic applied if we're going roaches as well. That we'll hit here and then back off and hit over here and then maybe try to sneak some roaches up here. And the swarm hosts are basically doing the exact same thing. But they're leveraging the fact that locusts do a lot of damage. Locusts themselves have a feel of mobility just due to the fact that this mech is so ridiculously immobile. So one of two things happens right now. We either kill him, or he is significantly delayed. Not a lot of these locusts are actually getting up to the tanks. I would venture so far as to say that 0 of them are getting in from this side. But that's the best part. Is just by creating 2 angles of continuous attack, he's going to have a really hard time positioning all these tanks properly. If, for instance, all his tanks were here, these locusts would rally to here. Or if he had, a lot of tanks positioned here, and then a lot of tanks positioned here, we would position our swarm hosts here. And the fact that he has to unsiege really exploits it. The fact that we actually can lift up and move around at all. Oh yeah, and then these Broodlords show up, the sort of follow-up tech. And TLO decimates Strelok in such a ridiculously compelling fashion that it would honestly make me, if I were in Strelok's shoes, be like, alright, I guess I'm not going to go mech anymore. Alright, I'm going to close the replay. Let's see if it messes up. Okay, we're good. Alright, let's open up the next game in the series. This one was just art, man. I loved this. So while this is loading up, I'll just note a little bit more about why we like Swarm Host over Roach in this situation. Roaches are let's talk about the advantage that a Roach would have over a Swarm Host. First of all, Roaches are a lot faster, and they can shoot and move in conjunction a lot more easily. Just like run up, shoot, run over there, shoot. Swarm hosts have to go over there and burrow and wait, and then the locusts come, and then they're like, alright, unburrow and move somewhere else. Roaches are a lot better on defense. Offensively, they function very, very similarly. The swarm hosts are going to hit from one side, and then upon seeing the defense is there, try to hit from another side. Functionally the same. The swarm hosts really suck at defense. Can't emphasize that enough. So that's why we do it against Mech. We don't have to worry about the defense. And we have the added benefit that the locusts are free. So we can burrow the swarm host, shoot, lift up, and go somewhere else. And then he's dealing with the swarm or the locusts from over here, and the swarm hosts come over there. I'm actually pretty impressed with how accurate my swarm host sound was. All you have to do is hawk. So we have another game here on Newkirk Precinct. I'll spoil it by telling you that Strelok is going to Mech. I mean, just the general idea of swarm hosts in the mid-game is very, very clever against Mech. But again, we need to make sure that we're using it to buy time, not to just try to win. So that's what I loved about TLOs. I think the biggest play was the Hive going down at 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Once upon a time, Hatch goes down at 15 supply. Second Overlord checks out at the front to make sure there's no proxy barracks action going on. It doesn't go too far out, because that way if a Marine shows up, we can retreat to here, or more importantly, to this point. We don't want to be caught here when he starts shooting at us. That would suck a lot of ass. Spawning pool goes down at 16 supply. We built 2 more drones, because we're a greedy German named TLO. Usual barracks and gas after a fast command center. Just getting little crickety-crackities of the neck. So, 1 queen, 2 queen, everywhere's a queen, queen. When are we going to get our gas geyser? Oh, I don't know, 24, 25, 26. 1 set of lings, just dose. We're at 25 supply. That's feeling a lot like we should get ourselves a gas geyser. There it is. There's our lovely little gas geyser. Let's go to the TLO cam. Yeah. So, queen moves out, begins to spread dots dare creep. Usefulness of getting 2 lings up early. We can, in fact, get watchtowers. Watchtowers. So once again, we ask ourselves the question, what should we do with our first 100 gas? It's actually rather clear why TLO likes this gas timing and doesn't get this 3rd queen up. Why no, doesn't get the 4th queen up. Why no 4th queen? Because if we skip the 4th queen, we can get a ridiculously early layer. This game, however, TLO is going to do a rather unusual maneuver and go for a very fast hatch. Utilizing this cool trick where he builds a hatch, cancels it, and then creep tumors, and then takes this hatch. This is not an essential part to the build. This is like an additional benefit of being able to think through things the way that TLO does. So with this sort of setup, we still have to ask ourselves, what range of play could he possibly be doing? Is he going mech? Is he going bio? Is he following this Reaper up with this or that or the other? I personally am a fan of getting Zergling speed in this situation. I don't think it's safe to get a layer up right now. I just don't actually think we have the resources to both go layer and build drones for this and devote drones to gas. The devoting drones to gas that we'll obviously need to get Mutalisks is really the biggest thing. We need like 12 drones to do that. 3 to go in each geyser, and then 1 drone to become each geyser. I just don't actually think we can afford, with 32 workers, to build 12 into that and support this hatch. So once again, though, pretty usual timings. I'm just going to go ahead and speed it up a bit. So I don't really have a good sense of what's going on. Although, now that we're at around 620, we should be like, alright, great. We should really be seeing Hellions right now. We see that Strelok is, in fact, getting ready to do this. Oh, look at that. It's a Hellion. Ah, cool. We should be seeing Hellions. By all measures, we should. So around 7 minutes, we generally anticipate a flood of Zerglings from TLO to match up with the flood of Hellions from Strelok, assuming he does see it. When do we get the layer? Whenever we have enough gas to. There's no surprise there. Throwing down a spine crawler, some lings getting produced, but around 7 minutes we should really start to say to ourselves, is this guy Is this guy for real? Is he just skipping out on Hellions? This moment right here is where it's easiest to make the error of just building the Zerglings anyways, because, well, we build Zerglings against Hellions. It's 7 minutes. That's the timing. However, we can just simply build a spine crawler and then check if we've seen nothing. We really do have to see that. So this Overlord's trying to poke his way in. This Overlord's going to try to poke his way in. Everything back home is pretty typical. Just getting more drones, injecting dat larva. More drones being produced, because we still haven't seen the Hellions come out. So when this moment happens, this is kind of... This, to me, would be an, oh wait, what the hell is going on moment. Because we haven't seen any Hellions. You might say to yourself, well, I mean, what if he just does this to surprise us? Then he's awful and he's going to lose. Like, we can panic build Zerglings in this spot versus normal slow Hellions being stockpiled and be okay. But still, it's one of those moments where you should be going, oh my god, something scary could be coming on up. So Strelok is in fact going for double Hellion, double medevac production. So as anticipated, flood of Lings, having seen it. Spire comes down. Spores and spines abound for TLO. Normally this spine would rather be here, or perhaps here, or perhaps here, to deal with Hellions, but because it's Hell Bats, keeping it tucked in a little bit more. Spore Crawler, going down. The more the merrier, the Spore Crawl, the merrier. So we kind of have a pretty typical defense setup. Some slight little tweakies in there. Most notably well, I want to get some more drones out, but I don't want to over-drone. Still having not seen anything, the big flood of drones go on. In the Everyone tab, we see, oh, look at that, Thor plus Hellbats. In this spot, I'm of the strong, overwhelming opinion that even though this number of Lings might seem excessive, and we might think, I don't want to overbuild Lings, we already do have over 60 drones. And also, this map, this walk around is a real pain in the ass. Like running down here and then having to run all the way down there. And to defend that properly, I really do think you need a lot of Lings. But even then, it's not as big of a deal. Now, TLO is a huge fan of these counterattacks. Why might he do this? Because he sees... Where are the two medevacs? Two medevacs, one with a Thor in them. So it's not a huge Hellbat presence. It's a pretty manageable attack. So, oh, these Lings that I overbuilt, no problem. I'll just try to see if I can get up in there. No need to force it. Mutalisk coming up, this will shut down the drop. It's a good thing we went for the Mutalisk really fast. And once again, now that I have abated any concern of any future attack, let me go get an extra base. Let me go begin the what's it's called production, the swarm hosts. And let me just contain with these mutas. So I'm going to speed that up. We're going to see all that action take place. Taking him out. Yeah. Fourth base. He can't attack us because he has to stay defensive because of Mutalisks. And his insurance. We have a buttload of Zerglings. So there we actually get to see his army. Nifty. And once again, an extremely fast Hive. A rather fast Hive. Even though this was kind of a shorter segment too, no big deal. We're going to go to part 3 right now, so that way we can just wrap it up and take questions, and we'll have a nice, clean little daily. But yeah, it's a really simple idea that feels pretty discordant with the usual style of ZvT, but we're still clearly seeing everything's normal up until he sees Mech. He will see Mech before 9 or 10 minutes. And when TLO sees it, he just goes Swarm Host, Hive, and soon enough, Ventral Sacs with speed. When we come back, we're going to finish this game. Bam! Be back in 2 minutes.